Welcome to Loose Talk, which tonight comes from Hull. Our panel tonight, backed by popular demand, the biggest comic in all the land, Phill Jupitus, from Radio 1's Fist of Fun, Richard Herring, star of The Real McCoy, Felix Dexter, and star of Loose Talk, Jeremy Hardy. We're going to be very polite to each other tonight because today, you may or may not know, is National Courtesy Day. It's good to be polite, National Courtesy Day. I wasn't asked whether I want it to be National Courtesy Day. We were just told it was going to be National Courtesy Day. Wankers.
Well, you're going to do a bank job on National Courtesy Day. Where you're going to go, oi! Have a chill! Please?
I had an experience with extreme courtesy when I was much younger. I was about 16 or 17. I got a slapping off a copper. And he said to me, I'm sorry, mate, it's nothing personal, it's just I didn't like your face. True story.
You tried to be courteous at times, help people out, like hold a door open for somebody, but that's no good, because it just makes them run, doesn't it? You hold the door, they just start, and they just that crappy sort of walk running thing. Pointless.
What do polite people do on National Courtesy Day? You know, like Mormons and Quakers, who are like, they're so polite you want to punch them. Anyway, it's national... They're either totally and utterly, they like just lay in bed going, thank you please, thank you please. Or perhaps have a day off, go, oh, bollocks, bollocks! No,
do you know what they do, Phil?
What do they do?
They do let you punch them. It's good. I'm not going to say it.
Later on, we'll be getting the answers to our punchline competition. Earlier this evening, we asked our audience to supply a punchline for this joke. What is the difference between Boris Yeltsin and Barbara Cartland? So, for example, you could say the difference between Boris Yeltsin and Barbara Cartland is that Boris Yeltsin talks bollocks but has alcohol as an excuse. See what the audience came up with later on. And we'll move on to our very first question, which comes from Ed Brownlee. Where's Ed? Ed, where are you? Put your hand up, Ed. It's right over there. You've got Ed on the little stick like this. Ed, your question, please.
Will it finally emerge that the Princess of Wales has actually slept with her own husband?
What a sick young man you are. It's an awful, horrible idea, isn't it?
Would he try to sell a book about it, then?
Yeah, obviously, as Felix said, the question, I presume, is about Major James Stewart, who apparently slept with... Well, didn't sleep with, shagged is a word we're looking Princess Diana, and then wrote a book about it. Now, I'm sure you may have read this, that by medieval law, it's still possible to be hanged for sleeping with the wife of the Queen's son, i.e. the son and heir. And also, this is very true, by medieval law, you can be hanged for playing football. So if she just sleeps with John Barnes, we'll have the bugger. I don't know, Phil, what do you think of this terrible kiss and tell story?
Well, have you noticed his ears are a little bit bigger?
Straight in there, weren't you? All the constitutional questions we could have talked about. No, oral sex.
And I don't mind her if she wants to shag. That's fair enough. Because you know, all the royals, they've got a state birthday and a real birthday. So obviously her state shag is Prince Charles, and she can have a private one if she wants. I think why not? You know.
Richard.
Yeah, what got me was the way the papers are all calling Hewitt a cad, but a bounder and a cad. It's like that's the kind of word you used to describe someone like Dick Dastardly or you know, Terry Thomas. What a cad. You know, like what Hewitt's done. You know, sleep with this woman who's psychologically vulnerable and then sell the story. You know, the word cad doesn't immediately spring to mind. Another word beginning with C does spring. I'll give you a clue if you haven't got it. If you listen to Neil Kinnock when he's doing a speech, the way he pronounces can't, it's very similar. Listen to it.
Jeremy.
Sorry, you woke me from a reverie. No, string them all up. No, my opinion is it is appalling that a member of the royal family has been caught having sex with somebody to whom she is not related in any way. And she could have fallen pregnant. And then we could have a possible heir to the throne who is not a completely inbred banjo-twanging retard.
Felix.
The whole issue, I mean, there's a serious element to it. There's a kind of like hysteria, sort of hysteria about the royals' sexual habits. It's almost as if we didn't have the royals, we'd have to find some other group or some other individual to focus this on. It might well be the majors. Can you imagine that? You know, like people claiming to have had sex with Norma. Don't talk about it, mate. We don't want to know. All right, keep it quiet.
You've got the book there, haven't you?
I have. I'm just looking through it, and there's nothing worth walloping over, but...
Such a charmer. Such a charmer.
I've got the book here, and at one point, she describes him, she says, a kindly and proficient man. That's cycling, that is. What, he did it on a bike and all? She gave him a badge at the end of it.
He could theoretically be hanged, and there are these things you can be hanged for, treason being one. Another one is arson in the royal dockyards. And this is interesting, because I didn't know that the royals had any dockyards, because you can't really imagine them hanging around the docks, can you? Well, apart from one or two of them, obviously. But another thing you can be hanged for is piracy on the high seas, which presumably includes video piracy. So remember, video piracy is a crime. Do not accept it. Because it reduces your video watching pleasure and could lead to your newsagent being hanged.
Sounds like a bizarre sexual euphemism, isn't it? Arson in the royal dockyard. Where's Ed? I know it's very bizarre. He asked 5 of us for an answer. I'm going to ask you, Ed, for the answer. What do you think? Do you think that they were at it like...
Probably not, no.
You don't think so? Really? But we've hit the most naive man in Britain.
But Ed, check him out. What a babe magnet, eh? Girls looking for something oily to sleep with? Get yourself the Hewitt.
I can't believe he's got £3 million writing this book and has got to sleep with Princess Diana. That just seems so unfair. It's like having your cake and sort of smearing it all over your body and having it licked off. If you get £3 million for sleeping with Princess Diana, I mean, how much are you going to get if you shag the Queen Mother? That's what I want to know. And I'm available for that one as well. If you want, I'll split it with you, the money.
Sorry, have we got any other views in the audience? Because everybody's reading it. Where's that? There's a hand there. Oh, right over there in the corner. Keep going. Keep your hand up, mate, please, so we know where you are.
I'd like to know if Mrs. Hewitt is going to go back with Arthur and take revenge.
He wasn't married though, was he? What a plot line.
What we haven't taken into account, though, is that your woman, Diana, is deeply suicidal, and which must have been a nightmare sleeping with somebody who makes so many pitiful attempts to kill themselves, like throwing herself out of bed. Oh, Cole, get back in. I'm trying to kill myself. I thought maybe that's what the sex was. She was actually just trying to kill her. She was trying to impale herself. Or maybe swallow poison.
Well, to end the round, what we're going to do, we're going to have a tabloid-style poll of the people. Our audience have got red and yellow cards. That's it. That's lovely. Get your cards ready. And if you think that he is a complete cad and bounder, as we said, I want you to hold up the red card. So after 3, 1, 2, if he's a complete cad and bounder, hold up the red card. 1, 2, 3.
Ooh.
That's quite a few.
Someone's held up a yellow card that they misunderstood.
Yeah. So put the red cards down now. And the yellow card, thank you, sir. Now, this is the time, the yellow card time. Now, this is, if you, because he said, Major Hewitt said he was acting in the public interest. So if you think that he was acting in the public interest, on the count of 3, I'd like you to raise your yellow card. So 1, 2, 3. There's more than I expected, actually. The lady down there with the, right in front, that's it. Do you think he is acting in the public interest?
Yeah, I think he did. I think he did us all a favour, actually. Maybe he'll get rid of the whole royal family altogether.
Fair point.
Maybe.
Just as a matter of interest, before we do finish around, as a matter of interest, if you think he's just a money-grabbing little shit, hold both cards up. No.
Can we give a little quick message, though, to the princess? Because she's probably watching and she's feeling a bit left out. Now, you're married in, it was your own mistake, you married them, right? But if you want to leave them, don't go copping off with some soldier, because they're just as bad, right? Posh gob from Sandhurst. You really want to say, kiss my sweet butt to the royals, Diana, cop off with a big dyke on a Harley Davidson and disappear into the sunset.
And our next question comes from Laura Dykes. Where's Laura? Laura's right at the back of the middle. Ready for Laura? Laura, your question is, please.
When Tony Blair was in Blackpool, did he ask for some 10p's to play on the machines?
Yes, when little Tony Blair, when he was in Blackpool, did he ask for 10p's to play on the machines? The Labour Party conference sadly spoilt for me now by the Lib Dems, because I'm just watching it all day thinking, come on, what's your cannabis policy now? Come on. Legalise it or not legal? Never mind unemployment, cannabis is what I want to know about. Although I do think trying to renounce Clause 4 smacks of the sort of thing you do after a couple of joints. Like 2 o'clock in the morning when the mate goes, here's one. Jeremy?
Well, he's got himself into a pickle because the party's voted for Clause 4, and actually he's been trying to redefine socialism, so I've brought along the concise, God knows what the wordy one is, the concise Oxford Dictionary. There's a new edition for the 90s, so it's kind of a 90s Labour Party feel to it, and I've looked up the word socialism to find out the definition, because he's redefined the word now. Socialism means political and economic theory of social organisation which advocates that the community as a whole should own and control the means of production, distribution and exchange. That's what it says. That's what socialism means. You can't say I'm a socialist but it doesn't apply to the economy. It's like saying I'm a philatelist but it doesn't apply to stamps.
Cool.
Well, you look at Tony Blair up there on his little green platform and he's got the microphone up there and he's all keen and everything, and the first thing that flashed through my mind is Robin driving the Batmobile. You know what I mean? Don't look right. Don't look right to me. You look at that boy and you think somewhere there's a paper round waiting to be done.
Felix?
Just a small point to Jeremy. What you'll find, Jeremy, is that most political parties don't make their manifesto from reading the dictionary. So,
no, let's look up. No, we'll start with the Aardvark Party, actually.
Just a small point there. But, yeah, I think that Tony Blair is an alien. I don't know if you saw during the conference, there was one point where he was smiling like this. Now that to me is very, very suspicious about the man's origin. And the point is, you see, if you were to look at real working class credentials, I think you have to look at Neil Kinnock. Right? I want Neil Kinnock back, because that man actually had a fight in an Indian restaurant. I'm sorry, you've got to do that and prove you're working class on my liking.
The only reason you don't like Tony Blair is you can't do his voice.
That's right. As a leader of the Labour Party, I'd like to say, I'd like to bring back.
Felix, can you do him saying can't? But what's upset me about the conference is the way that everyone's bringing up whenever they can't quite get their argument across, they bring up John Smith and going, if John Smith were here today, he would have voted for the minimum wage. So and they're all going, oh, well, we better vote for the minimum wage then, because John Smith would have done. And they're doing this in all the arguments, like they're going, if John Smith were here today, he'd have wanted us to split the bill for this curry. Even if some of us had only had the starter, Robin Cook, yes.
That's it, because Prescott, of course, is from Hull, isn't he? Look, East Hull or West Hull. Yeah. No, because I didn't see it, but you said Prescott was behaving very strangely.
Well, yeah, he was. During Tony Blair's speech, he was actually going, bollocks! Jump up, little squirts! I should have been leader!
Tony Blair said the most amazing thing in an interview in, I think it was the Sunday Times last week, when he said the trouble with the Labour Party at the moment is that they have too many policies, far too many policies. He said, we have policies on everything from world disarmament to stray cats. Now, what is the Labour Party policy on stray cats?
They must never be allowed to record a record again. That's their policy. And I agree with them wholeheartedly.
Let me tell you, anyone in this room could win the next election as a leader of the Labour Party. But just rush it through, get in, go, say, I'll do it. Come here, Phil, come here. Okay, Felix. Mr. Dexter, Felix Dexter here will be playing the part of Prime Minister John Major. I want you to imagine John Major's on the steps of number 10 Downing Street being interviewed about a matter of the day. I should be playing the part of anyone that wants to be leader of this country, Prime Minister, at the next election. Okay, right?
Well, yes, as the leader of the Conservative Party, I think it should be made very clear that we have no intention whatsoever of introducing higher taxation, and it is our policy to protect throughout the country a system of equal rights for people, regardless of their race, sex, colour or creed. And in fact, can I stop now?
And we'll move on to our next question, which comes from Alan Glover. Where's Alan? Oh, big, firm, strong hand up there, Alan. Your question is, please, Alan?
Right. Now that the police may be armed with pepper spray, will the bill turn into a cookie programme?
Yeah, it's rather bizarrely, I think, the police in certain areas of Britain this week are testing pepper sprays, which are great pepper sprays. They actually stop the criminal and prevent cats from pissing on his face. It seems a bizarre thing to arm the police with, though, Jeremy, don't you think?
Well, initially I thought that sounds quite good, arm the police with a whole range of condiments, you know. He's not talking, Sarge. Needs something, try coriander. Because the French riot police do a marvellous vinaigrette. But no, I thought it sounded all quite jolly until I saw the thing on the telly with the copper getting it in the face, and I'm not so sure now.
Oh, God, did you see that? Did you see the news item? It was brilliant, because all the police, they got this Chief Inspector Jerry Allen or someone to do you know him? He was all swagging around going, oh, we're going to test this, I'm going to get this knife and test this thing. And they sprayed it in his face, came out really cool. Yeah, come on, with ah! And it was like Christopher Mayhew in that thing where he had to take the LSD on air. He was going, my face is burning, I can't breathe, snot pouring off his face. My eyes feel like they've been fused together with fire. I reckon they've just got a grudge against this bloke, you know, I mean, I think they're going to start testing him. Yeah, we thought this new one, lynching criminals. Let's have a go at that one. Go on. Yeah, there I'm unable to appear to wet my soul.
Phil. Radical proposal from me. I think a cookery programme, forget that, mate. Abolish the police. Abolish the police, replace them with swimming pool attendants. Just have a big chair on every street, right? Someone sat up the top of it, Fred Perry, trunks, flip-flops, just sat there, like...
I mean, it's not just a pepper spray. I mean, there was a suggestion that the police should be armed with guns, you know, which I think that's a pretty good idea, really, because that would save me a fiver having to rent crap videos if I knew I could go up the high street and see people being shot for real every time I went out. No, but really, the idea of it is, presumably, is, hey, we'll arm the police and the robbers will go, oh, dear, the police have now got guns. This is really terrible. I was going to do something naughty, but I'd better not now, because they might shoot me. Well, they're not going to go like that at all, because what they'll do is they'll get bigger guns. And what I'm scared about is that the whole thing is going to just escalate to a ridiculous extreme. You know, so you go to the bank to take some money out, and a cruise missile will come flying through the wall.
The thing about the police being armed is that a lot of them don't want to be armed themselves. They're against having guns, because while you can give a suspect a good kicking without marking his face, bullet holes are a dead giveaway, aren't they? Because even the wackiest judge is going to have a hard time believing that the suspect fell onto several live cartridges.
Before we move on to our next question, we have another letter, or I have a letter, that I feel honour bound to read you out, because it's not particularly nice about me. We were talking last week about the family and about childbirth, and this letter comes from Mrs. Catherine Chapman from Southend, I think it says. It says, Dear Kevin, last week you said that childbirth probably didn't hurt very much. Didn't say that at all. I said it probably didn't hurt as much as shaving, is what I said. She goes on to say, it's a very terse letter. She goes on to say, may I suggest you lubricate a bowling ball,
I didn't want to hear this.
insert it in your rear end and see if your attitude changes.
Piece of cake, nothing to it. Just getting your fingers out afterwards.
We have another question now, which comes from Philip Buchan. Where's Philip? Hang on, just wait for the microphone, that's it. Your question is, please?
Instead of handling a petition to John Major, should pensioners have used it as cheap fuel?
Yeah, good question. VAT was put on fuel in the same budget as VAT was taken off racehorses, so the obvious solution is to chuck racehorses on the fire, see how they burn.
I think what happened, it was 3,000 old age pensioners took that petition into John Major. Imagine getting stuck behind that lot on the pavement on the way to work, eh? But they had some good chants. They had, what do we want? Can't remember. When do we want it? What'd he say? And 2, 4, 6, 8. What would we appreciate? A nice cup of tea and a sit down. A bit parched.
Jeremy?
I think it's brilliant, old people becoming militant, because people say that you get more right-wing as you get older. I don't see why you should. I suppose, well, your brain cells die would probably make that happen. So I think it's brilliant that they're not becoming right-wing. Old people are now the hard left in the country. And that's brilliant, because also it's keeping their brains alive. And because demographically, we're an ageing population. And the trouble is that unless our brains are kept alive, we all retire to the seaside, is what old people tend to do, retire to the seaside. And therefore, as the population gets older, the edges of Britain will start to bend downwards, forcing the Midlands up till Wolverhampton is several thousand feet above sea level. Although that would make it less accessible, which is probably a good thing.
A doctor said very recently that old people, in order to stay healthy, should have an active sex life, up to 1995. Which, I think it's a great idea. It's just I can't imagine my granny, because I just can't imagine her taking her coat off for a start. No matter how hot it is, that coat's staying on, so the bedroom sex...
I can. I actually read that. I read that.
Did you?
I read a report recently which said that old people just are having fabulous sex lives, really, really good, which sort of made me a little bit jealous. But then something else occurred to me, which was that, I don't know, do you ever see these adverts where, in the Sunday supplements, where there's like an old lady lying at the bottom of the stairs, supposedly like she's fallen down or something, for alarms. But in fact, what's occurred to me is it's nothing to do with alarms at all. She's just totally shagged out. The woman can't shag anymore, trying to deceive us.
They are dirty devils, old people, because the thing is that they pretend to be shocked by things, so we assume that they're prim, and they're not prim at all. Old people have done everything. They must have done. They can't just have read The People's Friend for 80 years. They've done it all, and if you give them a couple of drinks and press them on it, they'll admit it. Oh, yes, dear, done it, dear. Up the bum, done it, dear. Well, it was wartime, yes. Your granddad came home in the blackout. I never rolled over in time. Happy days.
Time now for the long-awaited results of our punchline competition. Earlier on, we asked our audience to provide a punchline for this joke. What is the difference between Boris Yeltsin and Barbara Cartland? And we have some of the funniest here. Some of them. The first one is from Tony Connor. Tony Connor says the difference between Boris Yeltsin and Barbara Cartland is Boris Yeltsin writes better fiction. And these are some of the best, ladies and gentlemen. Glenn Cook, this is a good one from Glenn. Glenn Cook says, one looks after Mother Russia, and the other knew Mother Russia when she was just a slip of a girl. Philip Buchan suggests that the difference between Boris Yeltsin and Barbara Cartland is that one drinks a bucket of vodka a day, the other uses a bucket of makeup a day. Kev Billany, good name, Kev Billany. He just says there's no lead up to this. Just Barbara Cartland has her eyebrows trimmed more regularly. A bit of a sulky one from Kev there, are you? The final one is from Steve Cantrell, who says the difference between Boris Yeltsin and Barbara Cartland is that Boris wears underwear that will make Chernobyl fall out. Well, Glenn's is the... Where's Glenn? Glenn, well, Glenn, I'm pleased to tell you, Glenn, that you win a genuine prize, which you can collect afterwards. Ooh. You win, which is surely the country's worst. Sponsored brilliantly by some bloke's sweet shop. Because it's a whole city football shirt, and because they're nicknamed the Tigers, it's a rather fetching Ford Cortina Tiger scratch that.
Those were the shirts this year, and what we now also have for you as a prize, these are Hull's boots for next season.
Well, I'm afraid it's nearly time to leave Hull. Before we do go, I'd like to ask our panel to tell us about a story we didn't have time to cover this week. Who's first? Felix.
Well, my favourite story of the week was Boris Yeltsin not getting off the plane at Shannon Airport. I thought that was just absolutely brilliant. The guy was so pissed he couldn't get off the plane. I mean, if he was English, he'd be Oliver Reed, I mean, that would soon change the licensing laws, wouldn't it? But we all know this type of guy, don't we? He's the sort of guy who, when he's had a drink, he can do absolutely anything. So they showed some footage of him. He was in Berlin, and he saw a band. He saw a band, so he just went over to the band and grabbed the button. He went, like, conducting, I'll show you conducting, mate. And there was a microphone, goes, singing, I'll show you singing, mate. What I'm worried about is one of these days they're going to go, nuclear bombing, I'll show you nuclear bombing. 1-0, 1-0. You're going home in a nuclear ambulance.
I'm from an Irish family. Nobody could have told him what country he was in. Because he was in the safest country in the world. If they just got off the plane and said, look, sorry about this, the president's a bit pissed, they'd say, ah, we all are, come on down. No, he'll be fine. Jeremy?
Well, I noticed the BBC is going to do this thing called The Bard on the Box, different people doing bits from Shakespeare. And they're going to have Jimmy Knapp, apparently, this is true, doing bits from Julius Caesar. Well, we're going to get British round the table and something. And I thought, you cannot have the Bard done in a Scottish accent. The Bard was a Brummie. I'm sorry, he was from Stratford in the West Midlands. The only way to do Shakespeare is tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pie from time to time.
Phil?
The Swiss Army, the guys that make the knives, have had to let their pigeons go. Because they had pigeons. In the event of nuclear war, all electronic communication would be, you know, up the Swanee. So they had 30,000 pigeons, and they said, come, our feathered ones, you are free! And these pigeons, I'm in the north, you know pigeons, they came straight back again. They can't set them free because they keep going, piss us! Bloody pigeon, get out of it! And they keep coming back. So what's happened is the Swiss Army have had to move.
It's good, the Swiss Army pigeon, because it's got a corkscrew comes out of its house.
It's the only pigeon you can use to get stones out of horses' hooves, isn't it?
Same joke, but with a sound effect later.
Which one will wake up to the show?
Richard?
Yeah, well, this is another true thing. The Sunday Sport, which I read only for, you know, the research of this show, obviously. They've got a competition. Now, most people give away sort of like books or, you know, something like that in competition. But this competition, the Sunday Sport, is one of their topless models wants to have sex with 10 Sunday Sport readers at the same time. You are allowed to, there's 2 places, you just go along and sort of watch and see what happens. But 5 places have been taken already. It's sort of like an adult version of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I think there'll be a lot of Willy Wonkering going on there.
Make a great spot the ball competition. Well, my story is a very moving story, I'm sure you saw. The pub landlord who sadly died and was cremated, and his final wish that his ashes were put into an egg timer to be placed on the bar of the pub that he was landlord of, which is very nice. And so far, people have respected his wishes, and his little ashes are in the egg timer. But I just think, England being England, how long before there's half an inch of lager in the bottom, a fag end, some Scotch egg, and then a student drinks it for a bet. Well, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for from Hull tonight. Thank you very much for watching. Next week we'll be in Nottingham. In the meantime, please thank our panel tonight: Phill Jupitus, Richard Herring, Felix, Dexter, Jeremy Hardy. You've been great. Thanks.
Never stuck for a few words. Larry Sanders is on BBC Two next.